G'day, ZiggyD here. I'm back in Australia and just starting to recover from jet lag. If you guys have been following me on Twitter, you'll have seen that this past weekend I went to the USA to visit the Greenbrier Hotel and to attend a Fallout 76 hands-on media event. First, however, let's talk about disclosure and bias. Bethesda paid for all flights, accommodation, and food for the trip. I am not being paid to cover the game at all, but the event was pretty fancy with plenty of tasty food and high-end accommodation since it was set in the Greenbrier, a rather prestigious hotel. This sort of high-end posting is usually a bit beyond what I'd feel comfortable with on such a trip, because of the potential bias that it can impart. But there is at least a good reason for the choice of locale, since the Greenbrier is an actual part of the game and it possibly informs a significant aspect of its design and story. Bias can result from a company whining and dining the media, and it's important to be aware of that fact. We were all definitely in better moods than if we had stayed in $11 motels, been fed on McDonald's, and played the game in some random office building with no air conditioning. And of course, happy people impressions are more likely to be positive than cranky people impressions. It's only natural, of course. Hopefully by now, however, you guys will know that I'll always do my best on a trip like this to take a look at the game and share my honest opinion. And being able to separate my opinions of the trip and the game itself is a skill I've been able to develop through attending a large number of such media events over the years. So make of that what you will. Anyway, I'm very interested in Fallout 76 for both me playing it personally and covering it on Twitch and YouTube. The concept of a multiplayer Fallout title that's built on the game's survival mode and exploration with a more sandboxy approach is one that appeals to me greatly, and I think has a lot of potential. So I was pretty stoked when Bethesda invited me to join them for this trip and get some hands-on, record footage for coverage, and interview developers. The trip started with nearly 30 hours of travel and huge amounts of jet lag and exhaustion. I went with a group of about 10 Australian YouTubers, streamers, and traditional games journalists. Some people you might know include YouTuber Camelworks, Michael of Fudge Muppet, and streamer I Am Fall From Grace, and even UFC World Champion Rob Whittaker. This was a really cool crew of people and I had a lot of fun hanging out with them. I'll link them down in the description below if you want to check out their content when it comes out. Also attending this particular event were many people from the European regions, with the US groups attending a later version of the event after we left. Before the actual event proper, I spent a bit of time recovering from jet lag in Washington, and I went sightseeing, seeing all the traditional sites, and even meeting some overly friendly squirrels. The event was hosted at the Greenbrier Hotel, as I mentioned. This is a key location inside of Fallout 76 itself, so things got kind of a little bit meta. The Greenbrier is a huge, super fancy hotel that is also the site of a once secret Fallout shelter that was prepared for the US government during the Cold War era. In fact, Bethesda even hosted a Reclamation Day party inside of that vault, which was super cool and looked like something right out of the game. It was very interesting exploring the Greenbrier and knowing that later on we'll be able to explore it in-game. And based on what's already been shown off, and on my own personal experience, it looks like a really accurate representation of the location will be featured in-game. It's also a perfect location for a Fallout game as well, with a lot of crazy old-timey rich people decor and an almost creepy vibe to the labyrinthian halls and rooms. Apparently the site is also haunted, so I don't know, maybe there'll be some ghosts in-game. Now it was a lot of fun being there, but this is all just fluff of course, as the main thing we were all interested in is the hands-on gameplay footage. For that, all of us had 3 hours to sit down and play an essentially full version of the game. It's still in development, but we were not given any significant limitations on what we could do or record in the game beyond that 3-hour time limit. That said, there is only so much you can do in an open world game in 3 hours, of course. So we recorded footage on Xbox One X's at 4K resolution. Personally, I haven't played a console in years, and I'm terrible at FPS games with a controller, so bear that in mind with my upcoming footage and maybe be a little forgiving of that. We were split into groups of 4, with 3 media and 1 developer to guide us and answer any questions. But we were free to go off on our own and explore things solo if we wanted to, and I did that a little bit. I have to give props to Bethesda for having enough confidence in their game to give us such freedom in recording. You'll probably see some bugs and unfinished parts of the game, and Bethesda was okay with that fact. This is way beyond what I usually see from such events like this, which are usually rather curated experiences. A cool thing about this trip is that everyone attending has different footage of different things. It's a pretty open map in the game, so a lot of us all went off in different directions. So it's going to be a fun time exploring all of the content on YouTube and various websites when the embargo lifts. Personally, in addition to my 3 hours of footage from my perspective of the gameplay, I was also able to get another 3 hours from a second perspective in my group thanks to some footage sharing, so I'll be able to sample from that to help showcase the game. I can't say anything about the game or share any of that footage until 10 AM Eastern Time on October 8th, which is the embargo date. The reason for this is so that everyone has a fair amount of time to produce their content instead of having somewhat of an arms race on who can post things first, which is always sucky. On that day, I'll be uploading a feature piece video summarizing my experience with the game, along with some other videos. As I'm sorting through my footage, I'm kind of weighing up whether I'll also post a full walkthrough of my gameplay or instead several focus videos on specific mechanics and aspects of the game. Possibly I'll end up just doing both. So expect a whole lot of Fallout 76 coverage on my channel in the lead up to the betas towards the end of the month once that embargo lifts. For my regular viewers, I'll likely still be playing some Path of Exile and Magic the Gathering over the course of this month, after I've had some time to work on a solid amount of Fallout 76 coverage. And now I need to get cracking on making my videos for release in a few days' time. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments below. Of course, I can't answer anything about the game specifically just yet. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.